Right now, New York State passes tough new gun laws, making it the first to do so in the land after the Newtown tragedy. Will the new legislation make the Empire State safer? We'll discuss. And next, the NRA out with a new shooting game. You want to know how tasteless it is? Well, the new app first appeared only one day before the 1-month anniversary of the elementary school shootings. You will not believe how bad this thing is and just how hypocritical it is as well. And later, how one movie became the center of a political controversy. This is what happens when the Beltway and Hollywood collide. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us this Tuesday evening, January 15th. A lot going on this evening. We'll catch you up on all of that. But we begin with an in-depth look at where we are on guns and gun laws. Yesterday, it marked the 1-month anniversary of the shooting spree inside Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. It was a day that none of us will ever forget. And for some, those family members who lost loved ones at Sandy Hook, well, they plead with lawmakers and the public at large for changes when it comes to the nation's gun laws.
This is a promise to do everything in our power to be remembered not as the town filled with grief and victims, but as the place where real change began.
Because this can happen in any community, your community.
And tonight, those pleas for help have finally been answered, at least in one state. And I'm talking about the state of New York. And for more on what New York's law will do and how it all came together and still some of the outstanding challenges even after it, I want to bring in first our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman. And Andrew, it at least begins, let's hope, in Albany.
It does, Rich, and Governor Andrew Cuomo wanted New York to enact the first gun control laws after Newtown and to do it fast. And over the past 24 hours, the governor got action on both fronts. Lawmakers in Albany signing off on what will become the nation's most restrictive gun laws. The Senate passing the measure late last night. The Assembly followed suit about 100 minutes ago, and moments later, the governor signed the bill into law, as you see. The vote was a bipartisan one. Plenty of Republicans voting for the new restrictions. Most of the no votes came from the more rural upstate regions.
I am proud to be a New Yorker today. I am proud to be part of this government, not just because New York has the first bill, but because New York has the best bill.
That bill covers a host of gun-related issues. We'll start with the broad strokes, and we'll show these again later to let you read some of the details. It includes an expanded assault weapons ban that will make current owners register their weapons. A series of measures to keep guns out of the hands of the mentally ill. Measures requiring greater care of guns in homes where someone has been involuntarily convicted of a crime, or had a protection order placed against them. New controls and restrictions on the sale of ammunition, including a ban on high-capacity ammo magazines. Beefed up penalties for all gun crimes, including crimes against first responders, that in the wake of the upstate Webster firefighter shootings. Background checks on all private gun sales, including online, in person, or at gun shows. A statewide database of registered guns and gun owners, and a provision for making that info from the database public, that in response to the Journal News publication of gun owner details. New York taking action today. The Obama administration will begin to do so tomorrow. President Obama hearing from Vice President Joe Biden today on his task force's recommendation on what to do about gun violence. The president scheduling an event tomorrow morning to make those recommendations public. Much of those remain secret tonight, though we do have some idea what will be included in the package. Likely to be included a ban on high-capacity ammo magazines, universal background checks on all gun sales, and some version of an assault weapons ban. Plus 19 steps the president will take via executive order. Those orders expected to include an increase in gun research, expanded enforcement of gun laws, current gun laws, and greater sharing of gun database information among federal, state, and local authorities. And Rich, all of this taking place in the wake of yet another deadly shooting, this time in St. Louis, as the details emerge from that.
Unbelievable. All right, Andrew, thank you very much. We're going to get into a few things tonight, including we'll talk to a law enforcement representative, and we're going to talk about what we think Washington ought to do. And there's debate about what they can do, what they can pass, what they should try or shouldn't try. But first, my 2 cents here, and then we'll also be bringing you into our conversation as well at home. Now, the scene last night that Andrew just described out of Albany was one, I think, of common sense winning out. But sadly, in today's electoral landscape, that qualifies as almost uncommon political valor. New York Democrats, and as Andrew said, a whole lot of Republicans decided that assault weapons designed for our military to fight wars, they shouldn't be stocked on the shelves of Walmart in the Empire State. They also, among other things, said it would probably be a good idea to keep guns out of the hands of the mentally ill. Yes, America, even after Newtown, these are legislative hills okay for Albany, but seemingly too steep to climb in Washington. Now, if anyone asks why, they haven't been paying attention to the three little letters that speak loudest in our national debate over guns. Of course, I'm talking about the NRA. Now, sometimes in this amazing country, I think that we debate just to debate. Somehow, even the craziest argument seems to warrant a counterpoint. Well, the National Rifle Association has managed to stake out a position after 20 babies were massacred in their classrooms, that what America really needs, they believe, is to arm the lunch lady and to blame the media.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
A callous, corrupt, and corrupting shadow industry that sells and stows violence against its own people through vicious, violent video games.
Now, I'm going to show you in a minute why Mr. LaPierre is a hypocrite, I think a skeevy creep, and a man who puts gun manufacturers before his own members. But let's start with the hypocrisy, and many of you may know where I'm going here if you saw the Daily News today. Wayne, as you saw in that clip, he was pained a few weeks ago by an obscure video game that he, by the way, managed to single-handedly bring to the public's attention. So pained, it turned out, was Wayne, that after Newtown, his organization decided to sell this app to children. Now, I am quoting here. This is designed for children 4 years and older. It is called, this app, the NRA Practice Range. And it offers our kiddie shooters, again, age 4 and up, the option to choose their weapon, including, and I'm not making any of this up, an M16 assault rifle with a 15-round clip. Again, for our nursery schoolers and kindergartners, they can also select a target in the shape, wait for this, of a coffin. Now, I digress for a minute, but who actually out there in our universe is so warped you could conceive of an idea to target as an audience here children who aren't old enough to ride a bike, but you want to put an assault weapon on their brain and arm them with aiming at caskets and come up with this idea after the Newtown tragedy. And oh, by the way, your NRA chairman, he talked about the cruel and senseless media trying to profit off of children. Okay. Now, regardless, the leadership clearly doesn't care about kid safety or preventing the next massacre, but we, the people, and yes, even NRA members do. I'm going to bombard you with a few numbers here, but I think they speak to where we are as a country. 3 out of 5 Americans, they want to ban assault weapons. 2 out of 3 Americans, they want to ban high-capacity ammo clips. And 3 out of every 4 Americans wants an ammo background check and a gun sale database. And finally, out of every 10 Americans, 9 of us think that we ought to have a mandatory background check when you buy a gun. It doesn't sound too crazy to me. The public has clearly spoken, and the NRA's membership agrees more with the general public than they actually do their own leadership. But I believe the membership, it is time for you to speak up. Since Newtown, the gun lobby, what have they done? They have stoked panic with lies of a gun-grabbing government, and the crazies, they've taken the bait.
Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. Doesn't matter how many lemmings you get out there on the street begging for them to have their guns taken. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand? That's why you're going to fail, and the establishment knows no matter how much propaganda, the Republic will rise again when you attempt to take our guns.
Now, before you think he's just one lunatic in a corner, know full well that I've had on this program gun rights groups with hundreds of thousands of members who echo exactly what that guy's saying here. Consider that. Now, also consider who else is saying things like this, or at least is amping up the base here that the government is getting ready to knock down their doors and take away their guns. Right-wing radio and also unhinged lawmakers, they've all but added more fuel to the fire.
every mass killing of more than 3 people in recent history has been in a place where guns were prohibited. These guns, except for one, I wish to God she had had an M4 in her office locked up, so when she heard gunfire, she pulls it out, and she didn't have to lunge heroically with nothing in her hands, but she takes him out, takes his head off before he can kill those precious kids.
Does anybody doubt that if, say, Dianne Feinstein could, she'd get away with it, she'd pass a law saying that you can't buy any more guns? But as far as the Democrats are concerned, you don't have mind of your own. You don't have a thought process of your own. Well, you do, but it's not good. People are not inherently good people. They're inherently bad. That's why they have to be controlled.
Okay. I think by now you get the drift. All the while here, what's gone on? We've had a polarized Washington, and gun lines, they just grow longer and longer. As we are learning, so do the pockets of the NRA. Now, in addition to them being very tone deaf and I think completely irrational with solutions on what to do, we also learn about a thing called roundups. You see, we were led to believe that the donations to the NRA mainly come from Granny or the hunters, given $5 or $10 here or there. Well, it turns out that the same makers of, for example, the Bushmaster AR-15 are giving millions, tens of millions of dollars to the NRA, and certain ones are getting roundups. That means if you go in and you buy something, they'll ask if you want to round it up to the next number, and all the proceeds go to the NRA. So who do you think the NRA is looking out for? You, the member, the 4 million plus strong of you in this country? Or do you think they're looking out for the gun manufacturer, which maybe, just maybe, they'll get a little cut of the proceeds of? Regardless, I saw courage, or at least something resembling it, I say common sense last night in Albany. I think if we dance around the edges and try and get a little bit here or there, we miss the larger point. As Andrew said, yet another school shooting happens today. I think maybe, just maybe, the people in Washington who know the difference between right and wrong, or at least most of them do, should probably act on that. And instead of dance around the edges here, we should consider a group that targets 4-year-olds to shoot at coffins. Pick your side. Tonight, we'll bring you into the conversation. We jump into the break here. When we come back, we'll get you to sound off. Now you can see the toll-free number on our screen here. What do you think? For or against? Member, not member of the NRA? I don't care. I want your opinions. The toll-free lines are open right now. 38766-2428. Joe Biden, he's given his report to the president, and this Thursday, the president tells America what he intends to do. If you were him, what would you do? We'll be right back.